Don't mind the noise in the background. It's my AC. It's blowing out right now because it's hot. It's summertime. Getting close to summertime, but it's already summertime. But anyway, welcome to the stream. I decided to do a bit of a Monday night stream, very random, just talking about anything and everything. Wherever the conversation goes, we just gonna go with it. We just gonna vibe, and yeah, we just gonna have a good time. So, if you're here, welcome. If you're watching this on the replay, welcome. I hope you enjoy. But yeah, let's see what we got. A comment. We got a comment from Carson. Shout out to my boy Carson. Awesome. Yeah. I gotta check out your video that you sent me a little bit earlier on today. So I'll check that out after the stream. More than likely, this probably won't be a long stream. This will probably be like a 30 minute to maybe an hour stream. We'll see how it goes and everything. We'll see how the vibe goes. But yeah, Anthony, what's up? Welcome to the stream. You said, "Yo, buddy, saw Scary Movie. It was awesome. Next up is Supergirl and Spider-Man: Brand New Day." Also, can't forget the Odyssey. Very much excited for the Odyssey. And yeah, I've been hearing some mixed things about Scary Movie. There's some people who like it, some people who don't, but it's more kind of in the people aren't really feeling this Scary Movie that's out. So yeah, but I did see a movie this weekend, which I would very highly recommend going to go see if you haven't already. Disclosure Day. Went to go see it with a couple of friends of mine, and it was so fun. Like, it was a really great movie. Steven Spielberg, he's still got it. If you're into conspiracies, extraterrestrial life out there, I very much recommend it. It's a really good movie. It's a lot of twists and turns that I was not expecting in that film. So yeah, highly recommend Disclosure Day. Also, Coleman Domingo is in that movie. Coleman Domingo, he is just racking up the money this year. He's played Joe Jackson and Michael. He's now in this. He's also in Euphoria, though I don't watch Euphoria, but I know he's in Euphoria. So yeah, it's always cool to see him, doing his thing out there. I really do hope that he gets an Oscar this year, if not this year, next year, because he's been putting in work this year. So yeah, got that out of the way. Also, Supergirl. I'm been a little adamant on Supergirl, but you know what? I just want to have fun, okay? You know, I've been going through a lot in my life recently. Some things that I won't talk about that have happened, but I'll say this: I just want to have fun, okay? If this movie can take me on an adventure, if it can take me on a journey, and it's worthwhile, then that's really all you really need to do. It's like Masters of the Universe. Loved Masters of the Universe. I grew up with the He-Man cartoon, watching the reruns with my dad back in the day. So when I was a kid, used to come on Boomerang. So for me, although I may not know all of the Masters of the Universe lore, I am very much aware of the character and as well as She-Ra. So I'm very interested to see if they will continue that universe. I hope they do, because I really did have such a great time with Masters of the Universe. And I think really I think the movie industry is trying to change. I think movies should be a great experience, yes, with great compelling storytelling. But I feel like over the years, I feel like there are some people, critics especially, who treat movies as this should be, ancient Shakespearean text, and it shouldn't be. I think movies should be something that movies are objective, like everything in life, right? But I feel like, especially the critics, I feel like they are very much leaning more towards the negative aspect of criticizing films these days, as rather than looking at it from a different lens. And a lot of those critics and stuff, I've had to, block or mute them on, especially on Twitter. My goodness, feels like people are never happy over there on that site about anything. So I've had to, block out a lot of the negativity that I've just been seeing online from people. I say this and I tell everybody this all the time, right? If you are interested in going to go see a movie, go see that movie, because you may have a different perspective, and you might actually like the movie more than someone else has, and that's okay. I think that we're all gonna have opinions on films. So for me, I enjoy Mess in the Universe. I hope we get a sequel, if not a sequel, a series, something, to kind of continue that universe, because I just it was a really fun adventure. And I'll pull that back into Supergirl. I think Supergirl might be a fun adventure. It doesn't have to be, like I said, the broadest movie, the most Shakespearean, uh, Edgar Allan Poe esque stuff. It doesn't. Movies don't have to always be on that caliber. Some movies are just best being experiences, and that's completely okay. As long as the movie is good and has a good story, and it's entertaining, I think that's what matters. Now I'm gonna say, if a movie is bad, a movie is bad, and I'll tell you why I thought the movie was bad, or why I didn't enjoy certain aspects of it, you know, um, and that's just how I've always been when it comes to, movies and just stuff in general. But yeah, I have seen that the Knicks did win, so shout out to the Knicks. It seems like New York wasn't going too bad, too crazy, as I kind of felt like they were going to tear up the entire city. But luckily, it didn't seem like it's too bad. I think someone did. There were some people that did light a fire to a bus, which I'm like, okay. And then what else? Casual people fighting rival teams, all that stuff. Um, some I don't understand, because I watch sports, but I'm not like a heavy sports watcher. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, um, I guess, if that's the kind of things that they do when it comes to sports, I guess, it's just not how I would really go about it. But it's cool. What's really been cool, going into sports, is the FIFA. FIFA. I used to be really big on watching like soccer and stuff when I was, younger. I always wanted to play soccer, but didn't get around to really trying out for any teams. But I've always had an interest in soccer, so it's been really fun seeing, the World Cup, and seeing, all the countries all around the world coming together, and just doing it for the love of the game, doing it for the love of the game, the love of the sport, and for the culture. And I like that. I like having, so many different cultures from all over the world coming together for this one particular sport. I tell people all the time, when you have an international experience like that, where you can, see people, meet people from different cultures, and really get an understanding of how we're more alike than we realize. Um, you just get a broader perspective on just life in general, and what we're here to do, what our purpose is. And so I'm casually every day trying to figure out what my purpose is, while also going through the experiences of life, and just having a better understanding. I don't know why I'm going into these deep conversations, but maybe someone out there, maybe they needed to hear it. So that's where that's gonna go, for that conversation. But yeah, I mean, as far as anything else that's been going on, like, we got X-Men trailer the other day. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I've been seeing the reviews and the reactions and stuff out there. Pretty cool. People seem to be enjoying the season and everything. Um, I would have loved to have reviewed, episodes 1 through 4 of X-Men '97, but no one reached out to me. So it is what it is. I can wait until, everyone else. Although it would have been cool to have, had the opportunity to review, the show early, and maybe do like each episode having a review or something of that matter. Especially particularly with how much content I cover on it. But again, it's okay. It's cool. I'm sure there will be an opportunity that will arise at some point when it comes to a show or a movie or something. So I'm just gonna keep the faith, and I'm not gonna let it deter me. You know, Soccer is a great sport, but it is so underrated. Yeah, it is. It really is. Like, soccer to me is one of those sports that I feel like, people. I feel like once you finally get a chance to like sit down and kind of see and understand why soccer has such a big impact on a lot of people's lives, you know, you get a better understanding of like, wow, this is more than just a sport. Like, this is culture. Like, this is um it's like a moment that brings people together. You know how, you know, Americans always see the Super Bowl as that one big event every year where, your family and your friends, you come together and you guys watch the big game, on TV. Think about it from the Super Bowl perspective, but times 10. Times maybe times 100, because now you have, like I said, you have the World Cup, you have, countries all over, Argentina, Brazil, America, Manchester, it goes on and on. Japan, like, we could go on for how many, soccer teams that there are out there. So it's a really big competitive sport. And everybody from every country is, showing their support to their country or to other countries, and culturally, it becomes like this one big mixed environment to where, again, you get to see all these different walks of life. And I think that's really beautiful. And I like that soccer is one of those sports that brings people together. And I hope that, you know, down the road, I hope that we can have some more events like that. Um, so we'll see. But yeah, soccer, if you are looking for a good sport to get into, I think soccer might be the one. Soccer might be a great one to check out. I would definitely suggest it. And, maybe, who knows, maybe one day I might do some kind of soccer related thing. I don't know. Uh, we shall see. Plenty of ideas out there and plenty of cool opportunities out there that I have not come across yet. So, yeah. Yeah, as far as that, I don't think, is there anything else that has been going on, as far as like movie wise? Like I said, X-Men 97 stuff has been out there. I think it's got a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So season 2 is looking really good from what people are saying. So I can't wait for July when it comes to that. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, My Adventures with Superman season 3 just started. We got our first episode Saturday night. Well, technically Saturday night if you count it, but for me, I wait until it comes on HBO Max because I don't have cable. So I wait until HBO Max when it airs on 9 a.m. So I did watch the first episode of season 3 of My Adventures with Superman, and I gotta say, Kara and Jimmy Olsen, they are the ultimate ship, okay? I ship them, and I'm not a shipper, but if I were to ship one couple, I think it would be those two, because they are just adorable, to say the least. So, I definitely am enjoying and very curious to see what they do with season 3 of My Adventures with Superman. I know we also have My Adventures with Green Lantern with Jessica Cruz. That's in the works as well. So, very interesting to see how they tie those together. I did see an image of Jessica Cruz. So I don't. Maybe she's gonna be appearing in this season. We'll have to see. But I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, what else has been going on? Oh, if you guys don't know, you can tell, a great friend of mine, shout out to Perfect Peace. I don't know if she's here, but shout out to her. She got me some posters and um, obviously this is a brand new day poster. So yes, the movie's not even out yet, but I do have a brand new day poster. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been posting it. I posted the other poster as well. I have a Spider Verse poster, and I have two more posters that I'm gonna hang up, but I just need to figure out where I want to put them. So just expect some changes. There's gonna be some really cool changes coming up. Um, aesthetically wise, with how my videos look, with the background. So it won't be just a simple plain white wall that you'll see all the time. There will be some stuff in there that you'll get, they'll catch your attention to kind of make people, I guess it kind of brings more appeal to what I've been doing, because you guys have been watching 4 years of white walls, and I'm sure that sometimes that gets very tiring. Man, why doesn't he put something up? So this is just the start, and we're gonna see where we go. I'm looking forward to this next step in the journey because I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome to kind of refresh with a new brain, refresh with a new mindset. And I think I've after the week I've had last week, with some stuff that has happened, that I won't, like I said, I won't get into. Um, it's good to just try to refresh my mind into a different direction. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys are in the chat, if you're, maybe in the comment section of the replay of this stream, um, let me know. Tell me one good thing that's happened to you. I would love to hear, just some positive things that has been, going on in your life. Rather, maybe you got a new job, or, you did your first video, or maybe you've been working on a project that, has kind of been taking some time, but you finally get around to finishing it. Just let me know something. I love to hear what you guys have been working on, um, as far as like life stuff and everything. Anybody been reading any good books? Um, Anybody listen to any good music? I gotta be honest. I've been listening to a lot of like old school throwback music. 60s, 70s, 80s. Just a lot of like good, really good throwback music has been like in my playlist as of lately. I love music. Um, and I think it's really cool, just all the different eras of music we've had, since the beginning of time. I think it's very interesting, how music has changed so much. Rather, people, like the change with how music is now. It's kind of up to your opinion, but I think it's very interesting once you listen through all the eras and you see how far we've come. I mean, even when you watch movies, right? When you watch a lot of, old movies, and you see like how much we've progressed, as time has gone on with movies and how they're made, and how they're filmed, and just everything. It's just, I guess it's really cool to kind of look at those things and say like, wow, look at where we came from, and look at where we are now. Um, so yeah. I used to do music a long time ago, but I stopped doing it. But I'm planning on getting back into it at some point. I write every day, just about, a song just about every day. I try to. Sometimes there's days where I just want to chill, but there are days where, I have a song or I have an idea, pops into my head and I'll write it down. I have like notebooks full of like stuff I've written over the years, just figuring out where to take all of it, where to use all of it. One day I might have to show off my big, like, I have a big portfolio of like drawings I've done throughout my life. Um, it's somewhere around here. I need to look through and see where it is. But art is something I've been thinking about getting back into. It's been a long time since I've drawn anything. I draw every now and then, but it's just more like doodle sketches or maybe something will pop into my head that I remember I drew like a few years ago, and I'm like, okay, well, I do I still know how to draw that? So it's kind of one of those things sometimes. Yeah, I know I usually stream earlier, but I don't know. I just decided to just do a random stream because I was bored and everything. So, you know how that is sometimes. I would definitely like to see your work. You should post them. I might do a page for that. I might do a page and maybe on Instagram, and I'll take pictures of, stuff that I've drawn and kind of give like an idea or like a perspective of where my head was, as a kid and, you know, in middle school and stuff. I drew a lot in middle school. I remember we had an art project in middle school. Okay, what was that? Uh, but I remember we had an art project in middle school where we had to make our own shoe. And it's somewhere around here, that shoe that I made. It was the most absurd shoe ever, but it was my shoe and I loved it to death because it was so colorful and vibrant, and it had like all these different designs and stuff on it. And I kid you not, I almost feel like I don't know if someone had the same idea I had or anything, but there's a game that actually had a shoe kind of similar to what I had designed, and it was so weird. I was like, I wonder, because I think my art teacher said that she was using those for something, but I don't know exactly what. So who knows? Maybe that was designed in the game, designed and programmed in someone's game or something. I don't know, but it was a very cool shoe that we made. Um, so like I said, I just gotta find my portfolio. It's somewhere around here with just all my artwork. So if you guys want to see that, let me know because I would definitely love to do a page for that. Oh, That reminds me, something else I've watched over the past couple of weeks. I don't know if you guys are Earth, Wind, and Fire fans, but if you are an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan and you love Earth, Wind, and Fire's music, there's a really good documentary on HBO Max about Earth, Wind, and Fire. And it is really good. Like, if you want to learn about the process of the group and how Maurice White was, he was the man with the plan, and all the other members that came, like Philip Bailey and Verdine White, which is Maurice White's brother who plays the guitar. It really goes into depth and detail on like Earth, Wind, and Fire's like creativeness. And I always like watching documentaries like that because you learn different, you get into the mindset of creative people and why they do things that they do, or why they write songs, or make art, or make direct movies. You get like an idea of like where people were at when they thought about these ideas. And I think that's really cool. What style of show was it? The Superman show looks awesome. I see it's streaming on Hulu. It's on HBO Max. It's called My Adventures with Superman, and it kind of has like it's kind of like a mix of Invincible meets like, I'm trying to think what other show can I name that kind of has like a, like if you ever watch, like if you watch anime, I would say if you're an anime fan, I would say it kind of has a bit of that vibe too, kind of how the characters are designed, and the storyline is like really good. But you can kind of tell they take some inspiration from, certain anime inspired things in My Adventures with Superman. Like for example, uh, Supergirl, Kara. A lot of people make comparisons to, is it 17? Android 17? I think it's Android 17 with the black vest jacket and the long black hair, jet black hair. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Her. And also then you have, um, who else? A lot of people have been making comparisons to like Trunks with Superboy, who just got introduced in this season because of the sword and all that stuff. So I really do suggest it if you're into like Superman. You want to see like a different take on it. That's very like wholesome and endearing. My Adventures with Superman is a really good show. I think you would enjoy it. So it's on HBO Max. It might be on Hulu, but I think it's on HBO Max though. Perfect Peace, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Also, I gotta say thank you for the posters. I'm loving them. Loving the posters. Um, but yeah, I know today there's been some DC stuff as far as like the Batman 2 is filming, I know, and they put out like a official title. It's still the same logo, it just has DC Studios on it, and now it just has the Batman 2. So yeah. Hey Jace, I used to be named Crazy. Hey Crazy! Welcome! It's been a while since I've seen you. How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. chilling, good, bro. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. I'm just chilling myself. Just I decided to get on here because I was bored and I had nothing else better to do besides just live stream and just talk. So that's what I'm doing um, for the time being. Glad to see you're making content for X Men '97 season 2 lately. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm trying. I've been having some personal stuff that's been going on, but other than that, I've been trying to keep up with the latest news. I know, like I said, we just had the trailer that came out like a day or two ago, so that was dope. The roll call thing. Then I said I know there's some people who have reviewed episodes 1 and 4. Like I said, I unfortunately didn't get that opportunity. Although some of you may say like, well, oh, how come you didn't? You've done videos, on the show since the announcement. I don't know, but regardless of whenever I do get a chance to see it, rather something does happen or it comes out premiere time, I'm excited either way. So the way I feel about it, I'm just hyped for it. So yeah, I'll pray for you, broski. Hope everything gets better. I appreciate it. I really do. Yeah, life is life, and but I can't complain. I'm blessed to be alive. I'm blessed to be here. So even through all the stuff that may be happening in my life that I may be going through, I'm still here and I'm alive, and that's really all I can say. To be honest about it. But how are you? How's life going for you? I hope life is doing good for you and everything. And I haven't been making much videos because I'm trying to figure out what is something that I could talk about. Because I don't want to constantly make videos on stuff, constantly. Although I know that, people don't mind it. But I want to try to do some kinds of videos that, I can try to maybe spread out some topics, and that's why I've been trying to do like the gaming stuff. I've been getting into some gaming stuff. I've had people ask me about gaming stuff, but you know I haven't really figured out if that's the right avenue. How can I go about it? And although those videos, there's a small audience, but I think if I keep working at the gaming stuff, I think I can try to build an audience with that. Like I said, I want this channel to be just a variety of different things. I don't want it to be just one thing. And I say this to anyone who's doing YouTube. It's okay to switch it up. It's okay to change. It's okay to, figure out what other interests you have, and just kind of seeing like, okay, if even if there's just a small audience, like just 1%, still there's a 1% of people watching, because you never know. That 1% might turn into 10% one day. So um, I look at it from that angle. He said, I've been getting closer to God. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about stuff like that, but it's the best thing, not gonna lie. God is so, so real. So I've been changing for the better. I'm proud of you, man. Um, I'm a believer in God, and I have no shame of telling people that I'm a believer in God. At the end of the day, you know, people that believe what you want to believe. You have every right to. Um, but I'm a believer in God, so to know that you're going on a spiritual journey and you're finding yourself through that spiritual journey, I wish you all the luck, for real. Like, I really do. I wish you all the luck, and it is amazing how life and can take you through a journey and you start to see things in a different way that you didn't get a chance to see before. And I think it's really amazing. So you keep going on your journey, you keep doing what you're doing, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Um, and keep it up. Yes, God gave people free will to choose for themselves. If that's not love, I don't know what is. For real. We're all on a journey of trying to figure out who we are, and what we want in life, what we want to do, what we want to believe. And so for me, I always look at it from that angle of, just because someone else may not believe what I believe, but I also believe that that person is going on their own separate journey. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a really cool thing. So, yeah, like I said, I'm proud of you and for finding and looking in your faith for God. I think that's a really amazing thing. And just anybody in general who's, trying to find their faith and, whatever that they're trying to find their faith in, um, just find what makes you feel good inside, and if it makes you feel good inside, you keep going for it. you know it's all love. Yeah, yeah, it's all love. Like I said, I was talking about it earlier, with the FIFA thing, right? And like I said, people all over the world and different cultures coming together, for something as simple as soccer. And some people would think, it's just a soccer game. What's the biggie? But when you really look past the soccer part and you see the subtext of what's there and why the FIFA World Cup means so much to a lot of people. It's really amazing. It brings people together, and it's like music, right? Music is the universal language, and when you have something so powerful and so amazing that brings people of all walks of life together, I think those are the things that makes living on this earth, living in where we're living right now, it makes all of it worth it. And so I never try to take any of that for granted, and I never try to take any of what anyone who I've met, through YouTube or through, other spaces in my life. I try not to take it for granted because everybody's got a journey and everybody's going somewhere, trying to do something. And I think that's dope. You see, something I like about X-Men is that they highlight how different mutants can be, but makes but what makes the team strong is them coming together as chosen family and uniting despite differences. Exactly. I have always said this, you know, plus Nightcrawler is a believer. He got Wolverine to go to church. Exactly. That's one of my favorite episodes, by the way, of X-Men the Animated Series. That episode where Nightcrawler is having that conversation with Wolverine, one of the most beautiful conversations in animation history to me because of just how personal that conversation was. Nightcrawler, he didn't judge Wolverine, he didn't, dispose his character, nothing. He sat down and he talked with him, mutant to mutant, man to man, and they had a conversation. And I think when you're able to just have a sit down with somebody and just talk to them and tell them, like, hey, if you want another way, here's the way. If you want to figure out what it is in this life that you're going through, you have to figure out the source of why you feel the way you feel. So when he did that, that really opened my eyes up to why Nightcrawler is one of the most awesome, dope X Men characters in X Men history. He just is. And I am so excited to see him face off with, Exodus this season. That's going to be a really interesting fight of spirituality and faith, and I can't wait for that. But as you said, going back to the X-Men point, for me growing up, you know, in school, I was always a loner. I never really felt like I fit in with anyone or really fit in with any group. So for me, the X-Men was that opportunity, reading the comics and, watching the animated series, on reruns, because I ain't really, I wasn't born when it came out. It came out in 92. So for us, us 2000 kids, we had Saturday morning cartoons. So Fox Kids, you had the animated series of X-Men, then you had Spider-Man the animated series, and then you had, Batman the animated series, all these other great shows that came out in the 90s. So for a lot of us, the X-Men anime series was like that first ever, experience of really understanding these characters. And then obviously, if you dove into the movies, maybe you got it through the movies first, but I got it through the cartoon first. And then I started getting curious about the comics. I started reading the comics and stuff, so it gave me a broader understanding of the characters, and I started from the very beginning. You with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and their early work, and then I worked my way up to giant size X-Men, and then obviously the 90s, 80s, Jim Lee, Chris Claremont, John Byrne era, like all that stuff. I started diving into as I got older after high school. I didn't really get a chance to really get into it as much as I wanted to when I was a kid, but now that I'm older, I read comics. I try to get new comics and, try to understand these characters. And so the X-Men, I've always said to me, if I were to join a team, if you were to put the Avengers, the Justice League, and the X-Men, and if you were to have me choose, I'm choosing the X-Men 100%, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, I always known to me that I feel like I fit in more with the X-Men, just kind of based off of that dysfunctional family, than I would if I was in the Avengers or in the Justice League. You know? Have you seen Masters of the Universe? I was watching this movie, and believe it or not, I felt like God was teaching me something through that movie. By the way, 9 out of 10 underrated movie. I actually went to go with some friends to see Masters of the Universe, and I had a great time. I said it before. I watched I watched the Masters of the Universe cartoon. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon when it was on reruns on Boomerang with my dad growing up. So I may not know all of the lore when it comes to that world, but I am familiar just based off of those memories that I've had with my dad. And also Thundercats as well, and the Herculoids, and we kind of go the gargoyles and a lot of that stuff through my dad and my mom, kind of bringing me in to discover a lot of those cartoons that they grew up with. So when I went to go see this film, I was like, you know what? I'm just here for a good time. I just want to see how they're gonna do this. And I had such a great time with the movie. I think they did a really good job with showing, um, Adam, as far as like him on this journey of trying to figure out who he wants to be. And the story that you kind of get. Now, I will say, I do feel like Adam may be a little bit of a goofball sometimes, a little bit too much, but it doesn't take away too much from the film, because I feel like if we were to get a second film, I think Adam might be more reserved. He might be more. I think he'll be more in the know. He'll still be a goofball. Don't get me wrong. He'll still be a goofball, but there's going to be a balance of him being more aware of certain things, because from my perspective, Adam he still feels it like a kid, right? He still has that kid like, that kid like mentality where, he's kind of naive to certain things. So for him, learning from Skeletor and the fights he's had with Skeletor, it's only going to make him stronger and wiser and more aware of other threats down the line. So I really hope we get a sequel. I really, really hope so because I want to see this universe continue. I had such a fun time with Masters of the Universe. I knew none of the lore going in, but the sword, the breastplate, him being the chosen one in a world that doesn't accept him, the fact that his power was within him, of course, fighting evil. Yeah, exactly. Like, even if you watch like the cartoon, right? The cartoon it really does give you that feel of, a, a, a man trying to find out where his place is in life. And that's what I took from He-Man. He's trying to figure out what kind of man he wants to be. And I can kind of bring this into the point of, June is Men's Mental Health Month. And the reason I bring that up is that sometimes, as men, you know, sometimes we feel like we're in a rock and a hard place where we're trying to figure out what kind of man we want to be. Now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're trying to figure all that out. And sometimes it can be hard with the circumstances and, you know, sometimes people trying to tell you what kind of man you should be, what kind of man you shouldn't be, and all that. And I'm gonna tell you this, and this will go for any young kid out there, any man out there who's on his path trying to figure it out. Just go on your own path. And I know that sounds like, well, that's not really good advice. But take my word for it. Just go on your own path. Go on your own path of self-discovery, and figure out what it is that you want in life, what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want to become. If you want to be the greatest doctor in the world, you do that. You go for that, because if you see it, you can do it. And don't worry about what people try to tell you. Oh, because you cry and you have emotions that you're weak. Listen, Jesus wept. There's men in the Bible who have wept. Men throughout history, throughout war, heartbreak, sadness, frustration, joy. Men have cried through many different circumstances and have shown emotion. And it is okay to have those emotions. It is okay to understand that I am human and that I will have these tendencies where I may need to just break down and cry, or I may just need to get a pillow and use it as a punching bag. Whatever you need to do to get out those feelings, just don't let them bottle up inside. Because I can tell you from experience, from things that I've gone through, things that I've dealt with, that's not the healthy way to do it. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for your mental. Just let out those emotions. Cry if you need to. Talk to somebody if you need to. Rant if you need to. Talk to God if you need to. Whoever you need to, talk to someone. Because if not, you won't know how you really feel until you get to the bottom of the source. You need to get to the source of what's bothering you. And that's okay. So yeah, and you brought it up. People get so focused on toxic masculinity, they forgot real masculinity. Exactly. Real masculinity is finding out you, your journey, your purpose, and you understanding that throughout life, you are going to go through lessons that will build you and mold you into the person that you choose to be, right? So don't listen to all these podcast guys who are only doing it for the benefit of money, or these people on Twitter who are only doing it for the benefit to get 10 cents every million tweet that they make. Do not listen to them trying to tell you what kind of man you should be and what kind of car you should drive and how much money you should make and what kind of, house you should have and what kind of woman you should. Don't listen to all that stuff. It's not real. It's social media. It's all lies and delusion. When you believe that and when you see that and you hear these guys on these podcasts or these women on these podcasts trying to tell you how you should live your life, what kind of man you should be, what the real alpha male is, tone all that out, because that's all jargon. It's all internet jargon just to get you off focus on your journey. That's all it is. Find out what kind of person you want to be. Find out what kind of man you want to be. And when you do that, then you can understand the world. And I'll also say this: travel the world. And it doesn't have to be go to Japan overnight. Go outside the city limits of what you know. Go outside the city limits of what you know. And then you can find out, you know, then you can really understand the perspective of life and all the different cultures and all the different people. And then you can really you can truly feel free on a level of where you don't have to be someone else, or you don't have to be what someone else tells you. So that's my advice there. I know it's very long-winded and I yap in a lot of different directions, but it all ties back to take care of yourself. Make sure you're good. It is okay to show emotion, just as long as you are in control of your emotions and you know that no matter what, at the end of the day, God made me whoever I want to be, or life took me on this path and chose me. So I'm going to do what I can to make the best of it and make the world a better place in turn. That's basically all I'm trying to say. Alexander, I'm not gonna lie, my guy. I don't know what this obsession is with you trying to find out where I live. I think that's really weird. And I'd rather that you not talk about anything when it comes to that. If we can reach an understanding, because I think that's weird. Um, I don't really. You don't need to know where I live. I don't need anyone else to know where I live. So, could you please not? I mean, even if you're joking, right? Like, even if you're joking, still, I'm very considerate about stuff like that, because there's been too many situations of people trying to find out where people live, and situations that happen that just don't need to happen. So just, even if you're joking, um just don't joke about that, you know. I appreciate it. You said, I live in New York but been blessed to visit Germany, Ecuador, Hawaii, and some very different places, and I found that people are just looking for love and community, really. Exactly. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look. And I was not trying to quote Full House, but here we are. But anyway, when you go to when you go to a different country, or even a different state, because I've never been outside the country, but I have been to other states, blessed to have been able to have the opportunity to go to other states, with Junior Civitan, which Junior Civitan was a community program that I was in my local community. And, we always had, you know, um, these international events where, we could meet up at a location and we would all, come together, meet new people and things like that. I remember my first year, we had an international convention and we went to Orlando, Florida. Never been to Orlando, Florida a day in my life. But all I know is we stayed in a Disney hotel. Like, yes, we stayed in a Disney resort hotel. We were just walking distance. Like, we were literally right beside Disney World. That's how close we were to the park. So for us, I remember going to Disney World for the first time and just being amazed at all of the rides and the food and the attraction and the big giant golf ball and all that stuff that I had seen on TV. I finally got to see it through my real eyes. And it was such an amazing experience that I always say, go to Disney World, go to Universal Parks, go to a theme park, because seeing it on TV is cool, but once you get a chance to see it through your own eyes, it's like a different experience. So I had a great time at Disney World. I would love to go back. I want to go to Disneyland, but that's all the way in California, which I'm trying to move to California at some point. So who knows? Maybe something will work out and then I'll be able to go over there at some point. But yeah, but just travel. Like I said, meet new people, new cultures, and like you said, you went to Germany and Ecuador and a lot of those countries, and I've met people, maybe not personally, but I've met some people, online through either YouTube or through other places like on social media, and having conversations with them and how things are, where they live. It's so very interesting. Um, so yeah, it's all about perspective. And that's why I say once you leave out of the city limits of what you know, your perspective changes. Because now the small world that you've been so accustomed to, it's like all of that, all of this, you get all this new information. And so now in your mind, you're processing all of this. And you're saying, like, wow, this is different than what I know. But I like that. I like that it's different. That's interesting. I didn't know that about this. The brain grows every time we have a new experience because it's not something that we're used to. When you're used to being confined to one space and being comfortable in it, you have a mindset of, well, I'm fine where I am. Why would I need to go somewhere else? But then once you finally get out of what you're in, it's kind of like, that episode of Hey Arnold about the stoop kid, right? The kid who was always on a stoop, right? So imagine if Arnold had never grabbed his hand and told him, hey man, you got to get off the stoop. Imagine if he never got off that stoop, right? He had a whole big world out there missing because he wanted to stay on his stoop, right? But all it took was Arnold to say, hey, you got to get off the stoop. See the world. And what did he do? Started going all around town. You start seeing him in later episodes. He's in the ice cream store. He's in the meat store. He's in some alleyway. You start to see him in the background. And so when you're able to give people an opportunity, or when you're able to give yourself an opportunity to say, I want something different. I want a new experience. When you're able to do that, the knowledge of what you know grows bigger. And you understand more. He said, yes, sir, it is good to get exposed to different perspectives. of things, because sometimes people develop assumptive ideas to other groups of people because of being in a bubble. Exactly. Bringing it back to the humans and mutants, such a great parallel. I remember this new kid. Love Hey Arnold. I was a '90s kid. Yeah, I love Hey Arnold. That's one of my favorite shows, because Hey Arnold was a show that you learned a lot of life lessons. You learned a lot of life things and experiences that realistically happen to people. Every single day. I'm sure there is someone right now who is scared to leave their house because of whatever reason, rather it was the childhood, experience that happened, or maybe the news, them seeing what happens on the news, and so they think that because something bad happens on the news, because it's being reported, that it's going to happen to them, or that it's just going to happen. And bad things happen. Sometimes you just can't help it, but sometimes you just got to be willing to take that chance, but also be aware of where your environment is. You have to be aware and watch where you are sometimes, and watch who you're around, because not everybody has your best interest at heart. And that's something I had to learn very early on. And so when you choose your people, you choose your tribe, you choose the people that you choose to be around, you feel more comfortable. But once you kind of go into areas or go into places with people that you're not sure of if you can really trust them, or you're not sure where their intentions are, you're gonna have that unsettling feeling of just uncertainty, and you're gonna be paranoid, because I've been through that before. But I've grown over the years to know, you know, it's a lot healthier to find people that are good for you and stay away from the people that are not. Yeah, it's kind of sad now. I feel like the internet could help people become being more social in a healthy way, but it's a tool and it depends on how people use it. You're using it right. I appreciate you saying that. I try my best. I have my days where it's like, man, I if I have my days where I'm like, man, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know. Should I quit? Um, should I stop? But somewhere in me is saying you got to keep going. And so I'm just going to keep going at this and just seeing where it goes, where it leads me. Um, and I hope that there are more opportunities for people to, you know, just bring more positivity and more healthy, conversations, because it's so easy in this day and age to, you know, be negative and cause controversy because, it makes clicks, it makes for clicks and views, but I rather keep it real. I have no reason to be controversial. I have no reason to, do all these, unrealistic mindsets and stuff that you see, from people. I just have no reason for that. I have no need for that, because it's not helping me, and it's definitely not helping y'all. So if it's not helping me, why would I put out that kind of energy to my audience? It wouldn't feel right, and it wouldn't be right. So I always try to keep it real and authentic to who I am, and not change because it's the trendy thing out there. I don't really like going for trends. I like going on my own path and figuring it out, you know, through that way. Man, COVID did a lot of us, but we got to get back to where we were before. I agree, and I can say this from my experience, and a few of the people that I'm friends with in here, they know. During the pandemic, I was scared to go outside. The only time I would ever go out anywhere was to the grocery store or if I had a job, or if I had to go to the barber shop. Those were the only times I ever went out during the pandemic because I was so scared of getting it. I was so scared of anything just happening. And then you have all the other things that happened too around that time, as well. A lot was going on during the pandemic time. So I was very much, I had that fear inside of me. And I was stuck in a bubble. But then, 2023, and I think YouTube really helped me as well because I'm a pandemic channel. I started YouTube 2022. So, like I said, 4 years into the game. Yeah, I've been in the game for 4 years. Yeah, 4 years is insane. I've been doing YouTube for that long. Um, so when I started out doing YouTube, obviously I started out faceless. If you watched my first video, I wasn't comfortable with showing my face. But then a couple videos afterwards, I was kind of like, you know what? I want to show my face. I may not have the best looking face around. I may not be the best looking guy, but you know what? I want to show my face. I want to show people that there is a person working behind the scenes on what I do. So I decided to make that decision, and it was not an easy decision at all. It was not. There were times where I wanted to walk back being a faceless channel again. But there was a confidence in me, and there was a feeling inside of me that said, you know what, this is the right decision. So I led with that decision, and I said, you know what, we're going to keep going with this. And so, as you know, all these years I've been my face has been just about on every video that I've made for the most part. Um, so take that what you will. And my advice to anyone who may be nervous about showing their face on your channel, if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, that's completely okay. Do it when you feel like you're ready, when you feel like you're confident, and then just go for it. So that's my advice, because there's a lot of great channels out there that are faceless, that don't show their face, and they've been rocking on YouTube for decades. So if they can do it, you can do it. That's my advice to anyone who's wanting to start, content creation, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, wherever it is. Go for it. Um, so yeah, so this platform really opened me up personally. And so when I met my friends when I did in 2023, and I'm so blessed to have met them, you know, I met them in person, and we go and we have fun. Every time there's a movie, just about, we go out and we just have a great time with each other, and it is such a fun experience to always talk with them and laugh and carry on and just have a great time. And that goes back to my conversation of just finding the right people for you. When you find the right people for you, nothing feels awkward, nothing feels out of place. It almost just feels like you're just picking back up where you left off. It's like when you read a book and you stop reading the book, and then you pick right back up on the book, and it's like, okay, we're right back where we started. We're right back where we left off. Nothing had ended. That's how it feels every time that we get together. And it's same with my other friends from Discord that I met through Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, when the game had, before it came out, big in the Spidey community. Met a lot of the Spider-Man creators and stuff. Had the opportunity to talk with them and stuff like that. So some of them I still keep in touch with now. After all these years, who would have thought a Spider-Man game would have done that, brought us together, but it did, and I'm very blessed to have had them, and even like I said, people I've met like Koi Fish Gaming through Cuphead, right? If you remember, I started out doing Cuphead content, and now we got a Cuphead 2, and now another Cuphead game that's coming. So, and again, that was 4 years ago. So imagine all that time that I've been making videos, and now 4 years later, we're getting a new Cuphead game that's in early development and another game that's in development. Crazy how time goes by. But then even with Pandatron, my good buddy Pandatron, which he's been doing a lot of live streaming, and he's done some incredible content. I'm very proud of him, of what he's doing on his channel, and meeting him through again Cuphead and other games that he's played on his channel like Sonic and other games and stuff like that. So it is just amazing to have met people through different points of view, whether it's in public or on the internet, or through a game, or some kind of topic of interest that we had similarities with. It's just really dope, and it really opened me up to just wanting to talk to people. I feel like that's my calling, is to talk to people, and to in a way help you know give people that faith, that leap of faith, to say, you know just go for it, see where it goes. And if it doesn't work out, hey, on to the next, because there's always going to be somebody else that's looking for somebody like you. There is. And yeah. Honestly, you're on the oh god. My words are tumbling today. Honestly, your authenticity, I don't know why it's so hard to say that word, is what interests me to your channel. I really feel like I'm talking to one of my homies. And that's the vibe I've always wanted to get from the very beginning when I started my channel. I've always wanted to, have a conversation. My videos, I've always wanted to layer it as if we're on the porch, or we're, at the table, or we're in the living room, and we're all sitting down together and we're having a conversation together. Every news video, live stream, interview, I've always wanted to try to keep that authentic feel of we're just friends hanging out and just chatting, just talking with each other. I've always wanted to maintain that, and that's why I don't do a lot of extra. I may do some jokes every now and then just to kind of bring in a little bit of humor, but sometimes I kind of dial it back a little bit because I want to try to keep it as authentic as possible. So I really appreciate you for being a supporter when it comes to content that I make and what I've done. And so I couldn't be more proud, I couldn't be more proud that you're here, and I hope you can continue to stay rocking with me through all of my journey, what I'm doing, what we're doing, because I believe, I believe that there's a lot of great things happening all over the world, and they may not get talked about, but I see it every day. I see it, and so, yeah, you just got to keep hope alive. It said, by the way, your best stream so far, and people don't know what they're missing. Oh, I really appreciate you saying that, for real. I'm always like it, in person. I'm like the same way too. Just I'm very open minded, and I'm always trying to look for a different perspective on things. Even though I may not understand it myself, I'm still trying to find something to make sense of why, you know, why these things happen, why we are the way we are, why we feel the way we feel. Um, so yeah, perfect peace. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, anytime. Like I said, I don't mind sharing you know, my life thoughts and my experiences and things that I've gone through or things that I've seen, because if I can help someone out there who is lost and trying to find their way, if I can try to help them, honestly, I've done my purpose. I've done my job, not just as a creator, but as someone who's God is working through me and creatively. um I think that I've done my job. So when people go, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, maybe go back and look on these videos. Maybe they can see, maybe they can see where they can go in life, and they can make a difference, and they can, make their lives better than the way they found it before, you know. And I think there's something really special about that. Good stuff. You're on the right path. You are too, man. You've been really killing it with the art. I've been checking out all of your art, um, trying to make sure I like all of it and just support and everything. If you guys don't know, follow my boy Kendrick. He does amazing artwork. He's been killing it with the content. I saw recently he did one with Michael Jackson that you're working on. Really, really dope. And just all his other art projects are just amazing. So shout out to you, Kendrick, for as long as I've known you and everything, and you just continue to just excel and just get better and better at what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you, man. I really am. I felt that. I don't know. Maybe I should take like these clips or something, and maybe I could do like shorts or something for them, like inspirational shorts. I don't know if that's something that's popular, but I I would like to do something like that, because I think sometimes, like I said, we all sometimes need a voice of reason to kind of help propel us out of what we're going through or what we're trying to figure out in life. So I might. I'll have to figure out a way how to do it. I might have to timestamp some of these things, but I think it'll be worth it. You know, doesn't hurt to try. I think. You know that remind. You saying that reminds me of how I was when I started. What year did I start doing Marvel content? Because there was a point where before then I was doing mostly like just animation content. And then one day I said, you know what? I want to talk Marvel stuff. Because I like Marvel, I like DC and all that stuff. So I said the same thing. I said, you know what? Doesn't hurt to try. So anytime I would think, oh man, I don't know if that Marvel video is going to do well, I'd say, you know what? Doesn't hurt to try. So that you saying that just reminded me of that. And I need to apply that more often with my life. It doesn't hurt to try. So thank you for giving me that thought, fruit for thought, because I kind of needed that. How many heroes have died for you? I know one that did. Exactly. Like I said, um, it's much bigger than just us. Everything that I'm doing is much bigger than me. Like there's a mission, there's a journey that I'm going on, that it's like that scene in Forrest Gump. If you guys have seen Forrest Gump, I'm sure some of you have, where Forrest, he's running, at this point a lot of stuff has happened to him in his life, and he's just running, and he's just running, and people are following him and say, "Hey, why are you running?" Forrest is like, "I don't know why I'm running. I'm just running." So then you have a whole group of people now that's following him running, and they're all running together. You got the one guy who's, all messy, and he gives him Forrest the shirt, and he wipes the shirt, and it's a smiley face, and, all these other things that happen vicariously through him just running, right? And I've always looked at it from that angle of like, we're all just running to become better people. It's like a marathon, right? Shout out to my friend. I don't think she's here, but she runs a lot of marathons, so she would definitely understand. But it's like running a long marathon where you're constantly just running and running and running, and although you're tired, and although you're you wanna take a break, you wanna get that one sip of water, you say, you know what, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep running, because I need to see the finish line. So yeah, you said keep being bold, no apologies, just keep being authentic. I used to watch New Rock Stars, John Campia. I currently watch like Screen Crush for Marvel content, but when I see your stuff pop up, I also see yours. I appreciate you checking out my content. And a lot of those channels you mentioned, even though they, where they're at now, they had to start small too. They had to start, at a certain position where they didn't have certain capabilities, or they didn't have the audience that they did, and they had to build an audience over time. And now you see that, every time there's a theory on Mephisto, or whatever meme or trend it may be, it's probably because New Rockstars has, made some kind of connection towards it, and the people they connect to it. So anytime there's any news or Marvel news or something, they're like, "Hey, remember when we said this like years ago?" And it's like people remember, because it's a part of the community, right? And so that one day I could hope that, these videos that I make, or the interviews I've done, or the experiences that I'm planning to bring to what I'm planning on doing for the long term initiative that I have planned, is that hopefully one day I can have a community where, you know, I can have something to just enjoy, um, and look back and see together where it is. It says, "Thank you, Josh. I thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Enjoy the journey and focus on the process." Exactly. I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but trust the process. And I know it's cliche, but you gotta trust the process. Sometimes the process is gonna take you on detours. It's gonna take you down some bumpy roads, some dirt roads, some roads where you're like, wait a minute, where am I even going? But once you keep following down the road that you need to follow, all those dirt roads and side roads and bumpy roads that you had to take will lead you right back to the clear paved roads that you needed to be on the entire time. But it just took you some missteps to get back to where you needed to go. It's like, when you're driving, and I know I'm using a lot of metaphors, but it's like when you're driving and you're trying to figure out where you need to go, and then you make wrong turn, and then you find out like you go down, you do some discovery, and it's like, wait a minute, that way I took was actually shorter than the way I've been taking. So sometimes you have situations like that where you may go down a detour, and the detour that you take might actually be more beneficial than the path you've been going on. So there's always scenarios like that too to keep in mind. You say yes, yeah, they are successful now, but they lost. They're still in the process. Maybe, uh, and yeah, you know how that is with channels. Sometimes channels can sometimes lose focus of what they do, um, and that's why I try to. I don't want to feel like I need to put out a video every day because it's very time consuming. I tried putting out a video every single day, and it just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I didn't like the pressure I put on myself. So now it's kind of like if I feel like putting out a video, I will. If I don't feel like putting out a video, I won't. And sometimes I do push myself. But then there's times where, I do have a video, but then sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not meant for me to do that video today. So there's times where I'm like, you know what? I may not need to make that video. So I think that, and I understand from their perspective that they have to, because it's kind of like they have so much invested into what they do. But for me, I'm looking at it as a hobby, and I'm looking at it as a potential career path maybe down the road. But I'm not looking at it for profitability aspects. You know, I just want to make the best content I know how to make. And you don't need a team of, I, and luckily people are blessed to have, teams of editors and camera people and, things like that. But I've never really been too set on doing that. Yeah, I would love to, quality wise, maybe change some things. And that's why I say I'm getting posters and stuff now, trying to get posters and stuff now to just kind of spruce up the environment a little bit more. But other than that, like, I'm not trying to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. I have ideas of stuff that I want to do, but I want to keep it real. I want to keep it authentic and unfiltered. So whatever way that is, we will see down the road. But yeah, I definitely understand what you mean. I would also like to suggest, if you're open or if you're able or open to it, try a live conversation with someone else on live, or an answering cues, or taking topics you currently do. I think that would be cool too. That's a good idea. You know what? I'm gonna make a note of that. That we'll try to do more. I know I did do live streams with Geekly, but I know he's been busy making content, and that's another person I forgot to bring up. Like, Geekly is another person who he's just really cool guy. And he's been working really hard on content. He's been posting on, you know, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. He's been killing it. Yeah, I'm proud of him and where he's going in his journey. So hopefully, when at some point, me and him can try to get back up with each other and, do our live streams and stuff like we used to. Cause I enjoyed doing those live streams with him and just doing content with him in general. So I'm gonna try to get with him, and we're gonna try to work something out. You know. But definitely the cues. Not Geekly Gods, but Geekly Official. I do know of Geekly Gods though. I have watched his streams and stuff. Pretty cool guy. Pretty cool guy. Um, Maybe at some point I could maybe collab with Geekly Gods. We'll see. We'll try to work something out. I would be down to. Um, but yeah, you're good. You're good. But yeah, you type up Geekly official, and you'll see like a YouTube picture with a turtle and an orange banner. That's his page. Uh, Me and him, we've been cool for years, um, and stuff. So yeah, he's also a really good creator who, you know, very authentic, very chill, and laid back like I am. So if you ever want to follow him and stuff, check him out. I would very much suggest his content. He's very much a very cool person. I gotta go. The live video is good. See you in the next one. Of course, man. Hey, Kendrick. Always. It's always great to have you around. I appreciate you coming by. I'm gonna try to do one a little bit earlier in the day. Might do another one this week. We shall see. But yeah, I appreciate you coming through, man. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Do you think Daredevil will show up? Don't want to get my hopes up, but looks very likely. Okay. The fan in me wants to be. The fan in me wants to say yes. But the realist in me, I'm unsure. And like you, I don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm going to keep my expectations low. It for certain per certain reasons it would make sense, but at the same time, I could also understand if they didn't do it. So I'm 50-50 on it. He might show up, he might not. We'll have to see July 31st. That is if no the trailers, expose that, but I don't think they will. I hope Sony has kind of smartened up on that kind of thing. Because that kind of hurt No Way Home a little bit. Them unintentionally, maybe intentionally, putting the VFX in there with the other two Spider-Men. Although that, to be honest, they can only keep that secret for so long. It didn't help that John Campea. That's how I found out about it, because I was trying to steer clear of anything, and I said, you know what? I'll watch John Campea. Now I'm sure he won't say too much about. He won't say too much about uh, or about No Way Home, and lo and behold, he showed concept art of all three of them together. And he said, "Oh no, no, no! This is real. These are not real photos. It's just concept art." And they were real because Sony contacted him, Marvel contacted him. So yeah, they were real, and that's how I found out about them being in the movie. So in a way, I kind of that surprise got spoiled for me, and I was kind of disappointed about that. I was like, man, I did all this dodging and weaving not to see anything, and ended up seeing something anyway. So now, whenever a Marvel movie comes out, I do my best to steer clear of any leaks or spoilers or anything that's out there, because I know how it can be, and it's difficult when you have so many people. Oh my God! Did you see this leak? Did you see that leak? Did you see this leak? But I try to keep my composure and say, you know what? I'll wait until the movie comes out. Punisher One Last Kill felt like they wanted to sort of make like John Wick. It was alright. I want more Punisher content. He's probably a difficult character for them to handle, though. I think what they keep doing, and I don't have a problem with it, but I think they kind of keep regurgitating the same stuff with Punisher. And I get his trauma, with, losing his family and stuff like that. But I think we kind of need to move on from that. I think we need to get more into why the Punisher does what he does on a different playing field. I think just strictly going based off of him losing his family, to me, it's just not enough. They need to go deeper into him wanting to just save people because of his fear of knowing what it's like to lose people that he cares about. And I think that's where they need to go. And I hope with Brand New Day, that's where they go with this character, because you can only go but so far with doing this kind of similar to what they did before, but they need to do something different now. You said, speaking of spoilers, the ending of Daredevil season 2 got spoiled for me, and also Daredevil season 3. Yeah, yeah, I saw those pictures before the series finale, not series finale, season finale, and I was like, why couldn't, like, people were so eager to put these pictures out. And you see Mike Coulter, he's doing his best to cover up himself. But then you have Finn Jones where he's just like, yeah, I'm back. I'm back as Iron Fist. Yeah, you know what's up. So, yeah, I kind of wish those pictures had not come out, but they did. It was all over Getty Images. It was all over online. I was just like, man, this completely defeats the point of the season, of the season finale. And when Luke Cage showed up, I was kind of like, okay, well, now I know he's in season 3 because of the pictures that got shared. Um, I think something has to be done with this leak culture stuff that's been going on. It's been going on so much for years now. You got people out here trying to buy the whole film of Brand New Day for $400. Uh, you got people out here putting out leaked, unfinished VFX scene of Avengers Doomsday. You got all this stuff trying to leak out, people trying to leak out stuff. It's just like, can't we just go in a movie blind or go in a show blind without having this and that spoiled and that told to us before we even see these things? You know? Oh, definitely. We've barely seen him with the skull punishing. He's just been punishing himself for the longest. Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping that if they do bring back the Punisher, like I said, with Brand New Day, and even with if they decide to do a new Punisher series or another special presentation, that we don't go back and retread what we did before. Let's go to new territory. The Monucci thing is very interesting. So will they follow up on that? That is the real question. We'll see if they do follow up on it. Exactly, Finn Jones. Yeah, exactly. Like, he was just like, I don't care. I'm back. I'm back in Marvel. Y'all were hating on my Iron Fist, so you know what? I'm back. Haters can hate, and like he just didn't care. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but at the same time, gots to be more careful with that kind of stuff, because like I said, those foes can get out there, and now everybody knows that the defenders are getting together in season 3. You know, um, as well as some other stuff that's out there. Just coming in to say hi. Wish I could stay, but I have to go to bed. I got work tomorrow, so just saying hi. Understandable, nostalgic. I know I did a stream kind of late. I'm gonna try to do a more earlier stream, at least 5, like I used to. Um, I might do one Wednesday. I might do one Wednesday. I'll see. But I'm gonna try to do another one at some point. At this point, I'd be happy if Doomsday puts out a trailer maybe 1 or 2 months before release. They know people are going to see it, and that spoiling is a real issue. Exactly. You know, I'm honestly starting to think maybe San Diego Comic Con, which is next month, maybe they'll drop it then. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing that people got to see. Was it CinemaCon? I think it was CinemaCon. I don't know if it's going to be the same. It might be the same thing, but it might be something different. We might get something different to what they got at CinemaCon as far as how the trailer was and everything. But yeah, people are any kind of doomsday leak that they can possibly get their hands on. They are going to do their absolute best to try and put it out there whenever they can because they know it gets people talking. I actually hope it's the same because I already know too much. I haven't seen a proper trailer, just those four weird ones. Yeah, I'm hoping it's the same one we got that was shown at CinemaCon because at least we will finally be able to see what that audience got a chance to see. Because if we get anything else, then I kind of feel like you know maybe they're trying to sell it a little bit too much. But I think just based off the casting alone, you know, Fantastic Four, Conans, X Men, New Avengers, Doctor Doom. I mean, you got all that into one. You put all that into one basket. I mean, I think the movie kind of already sells itself. Although, like I said, I'm still not the biggest fan of RDJ's Doctor Doom. I'm still not a fan of that casting, and I don't think I'll ever be. But maybe the movie will change my perspective on that. We'll see. But I believe it's been 7 or 8 months since those four teasers. Because those came out, I think two of them came out or maybe three of them came out in December. Because Avatar Fire and Ash was playing. Um, and then each one dropped each week, and then I know one of them dropped in January. I think it might have been the Wakandan and Fantastic Four one. And then, people were saying, oh, we're going to get a fifth and sixth one, and we never did. So, you know, um, still hoping Killian Murphy is the real Doom. That would be dope. I think Killian Murphy would be great casting as Doom. So who knows? They may pull a bait and switch on us. Because if they can pull a bait and switch on us, then that means we can get RDJ as Superior Iron Man. Michael Fassbender would have been a great choice too if he wasn't Magneto before. I hope he returns with James McAvoy. I think he will. I think he will. I don't know. Maybe Secret Wars, because I feel like they want to try to tie all of that up together, and kind of put a nice bow on all that. Because I feel like with the Mutant Saga being after Secret Wars, their main focus is going to be on primarily the MCU mainline X Men, and obviously X Men '97 if that's still going, and obviously if the Wolverine game does really well and they building plans up to that, maybe doing an X Men game as far as that goes. But other than that, I think the Fox X Men they want to try to wrap all that up and say like, hey, we're giving you a proper send off now. Um, which I think is good because now we can focus in on a new group of X Men and a younger cast of X Men, and they can build them up for 20 plus years. But yeah, all in all, I'm hesitant, but I'm also very curious and I'm very intrigued by Doomsday. Although I'm worried, I'm still intrigued. This will probably never happen, but I would like Punisher to get War Machine armor. Hmm, that could be interesting. I had this pitch idea for something because at this point, I don't know what they're doing with Armor Wars. That was something that they had said that we were gonna get. It was supposed to be a TV show, then it was supposed to be a movie, and now it's radio silent. So I do have an idea of something that they could do when it comes to that, but I don't know. Um, but I think seeing Punisher in some kind of tech armor would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. Secret Invasion probably has something to do with that. Yeah, they should have never done Secret Invasion. Especially if they weren't gonna build it up. Honestly, if it was up to me, if it was really up to me, I would have done and I don't think I would have done the multiverse saga after the Infinity Saga. I would have waited on the multiverse because I feel like um, in order to do the multiverse, I feel like there should have been a mainline X-Men at least. So here's what I would have done. After the blip, I would have done the Mutant Saga. And the story you can tell is because time passed through so quickly with the blip for 5 years, right? The mutants, because of half the universe being gone, the mutants have kind of slowly eased their way into, you know, kind of eased their way into the Marvel universe. And so now you have like a Professor Xavier showing up. You have like a Wolverine and a Jean Grey and a Cyclops now because of those amount of years that have passed. Because again, in order to get an understanding of half the universe gone and half the universe still around, a lot of changes were made. A lot of people who had kids before the blip have now aged up. They're now grown up now. A lot of people who had houses or now had their houses mortgaged and sold to other people while they were gone. So while you had all that going on, you know, um, that would have been the perfect time to bring in the X-Men. And now the Avengers and the other Marvel heroes and the Marvel universe as a whole will now have to come to terms with that new reality of that it's not just humankind that share the universe now. The mutants now share the universe. How are they going to take that? How are they going to respond to that? What's the build up towards that? And so that's what I would have done personally after the Infinity Saga. Would have been going straight to the Mutant Saga, and then we maybe build up to the multiverse stuff of it all, and then probably after multiverse would have probably been, like something cosmic related, is what I would have done. Rather that's fighting like Annihilus or some other big cosmic foe is probably what I would have done if I had been charged of Marvel. Secret Invasion could have been a whole saga, or at least an Avengers movie. What a shame. Exactly. They wasted that entire concept on a show, and the stakes were very small. Very, very, very small. Rhodey was not enough. Rhodey and Nick Fury and Maria Hill, which I hate that they kill her character off. Why did they kill her character off? In the first episode, mind you, they killed her character off. They should have never done that. That was a horrible decision. And something else that never got brought up that I think would have been good for an Avengers movie. Where's Sharon Carter? Remember in Falcon and Winter Soldier at the end, they tried to build up this idea that Sharon Carter was the power broker. We never did get any kind of lead up to that storyline. So I'm just like, she's just out here doing God who knows what, right? And I think you could have leaned that into the Thunderbolts, right? You could have leaned that into her, her ulterior motive is to either infiltrate the the power dynamic of all of these inner workings with the government and the kingpin, what he's doing, and all this stuff, right? You could have had her work weaving into all this, but I feel like they kind of left that ideal on the cutting room floor, or maybe they get back to it at some other point. I don't know, but there could have been some way that they could have tied her what the power broker thing to some other stuff, but they just didn't. I wouldn't be surprised if Professor Xavier was gaslighting the entire world that mutants didn't exist. Exactly. Exactly. Like that would have been something right there. And the reason why he would have done that was to protect them. Because again, when you live in a world where you're you're a different kind of species, right? You're a different kind. You're different to your normal average humans, right? You're not like Captain America. You don't have a super soldier serum. You were birthed with a mutation, right? So normal people uh, wouldn't be so accepting of that, as opposed to like a Spider-Man who's a mutate who, again, got bit by a radioactive spider, and so now that's why he's shooting webs. Or like I said, with Captain America, he had to take the super soldier serum, and now he's got this incredible strength and stuff. I believe small stakes are the biggest enemy of superhero movies to date. Companies are afraid to mess with their IP to the point that it defeats the purpose. Spider-Man will probably never die, except maybe Toby. Yeah, I think I think it's possible that he could he could be gone. Um, you know, and maybe they need to hire. Maybe it's time that they do hire the stakes with some of these projects, because I understand going small, but I think there's certain projects that you can keep at a smaller level, but then there's some where no, this is like a major event. Like this is something you have to build up, right? Like Daredevil, right? Um, Obviously they're building something with Daredevil, with the Defenders coming back. But I do think that they need to, and maybe they are, I don't know what they're doing, but maybe they need to start building towards something bigger with Daredevil. Maybe they can do a Daredevil film where, you have Daredevil, Luke Cage, Punisher, Jessica Jones, um, Iron Fist, all these characters, Misty Knight, Colleen, if you want to bring them back. Um, who else? I'm trying to think of who else could be. Like really build up, even if it's the Devil's Reign storyline, right? Even if they wanted to build that up to a big movie event, I think that would be good, because now Daredevil isn't subjected to just being a smaller screen character. Like he can also be on the big screen too, and he can maintain that. So, um, especially if that character has been successful enough to get multiple seasons, I think that character is more than viable of being able to work on the big screen. You just got to get the right people involved. And I think the right people involved with, Born Again season 2, because season 2 was great. Um, I think they would be able to maintain doing a Daredevil movie. I think, you know. Why I mean is letting characters actually die. They introduce too many heroes with no way to reduce the amount. Plus, I'm sure the actors cost a lot. Movies take too long to make. Yeah, yeah. I get what you mean. Um, and I think there is a problem with, like you said, when it comes to stakes, right? Like certain characters, like, wait a minute, how did you survive that? Like, you don't have abilities to survive that. Like, that doesn't seem right. So I definitely understand. There might be certain scenarios where, yeah, they do need up the ante with the more real reality of like, okay, some of these characters might have to go. We might have to put them off to the side, and stuff. So yeah, I definitely understand. Look, it Quantumania exactly. Um, I seriously thought Kang was gonna kill Ant Man. Just based off of the trailers and how they were formatting the trailers, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, they're going to the Shadow Realm. Ant Man, Wasp, they're all going to the Shadow Realm. Cassie Lang, she may escape, but Kang, he's gonna do the thing, right? Did not. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed leaving that movie theater. I was like, you really built up this guy as a bad guy, but then you had him lose. You had him lose the way you did. I was like, you've already done damage to the villain. Like, how is anyone supposed to believe that this guy that you give us a variant in Loki, and he says, well, all my other variants, oh, you have to be careful for all my other variants because they're not as nice as I am. Well, hey, you must have told brother in Quantumania to either water down his routine, or he must not be a real Kang because there's no way you can tell me, looking back at that film, that he was a version of Kang that is threat worthy. Threat worthy. Like, come on now. Exactly your point. He lost to ants. Ants. Of all the animals on the ecosystem of this planet, he lost to ants. Why? Why? What was the purpose in that? If they really wanted to build up Kang the Conqueror to be the big bad of the multiverse saga, like they were planning, they would have had him. They would have had him take down the family. Ant Man would have been gone. Wasp would have been gone. Like I said, Cassie may still be alive, but don't show us her escaping. Leave it up to determination so that way when you bring her into another project, like maybe, I don't know, Secret Wars, she comes back and maybe she's been injured, right? In some way, right? So that way we the audience know, like, okay, well, at least she was still alive, but still she was still badly hurt, right? Didn't do that. They all escaped and now it's happy go lucky. Oh, I'm Scott Lang. I'm still working at Baskin Robbins. Huh. Something doesn't feel right. But I don't know what it is. Oh, that's right. Something doesn't feel right because you want to know what? Because you weren't supposed to live. And Kang was supposed to win. You won, and Kang lost. So yes, something did feel off. And then they had this whole post-credit scene of all these Kangs, and I'm sitting here like, okay, if this one Kang that Ant-Man defeats using ants gets defeated that easily, how am I supposed to sit here and believe that all these other versions of Kang, I'm supposed to believe that they're more dangerous than the one we just saw? Like you expect me to dispose my disbelief and say like, okay, I'm scared because there's multiple versions of the same guy that I just saw got defeated by ants. That doesn't make sense at all. That really doesn't make sense. Or at least Ant-Man gets trapped with Kang in another dimension at the end. Yeah, like he could have had Ant-Man working for Kang, right? Like there's so many different ways they could have gone about that whole thing. And yet they chose the most easy way out of it, and by just saying, you know what, we'll just have Kang get sucked through the, I don't know what it's called, the thing that he gets sucked through, and just have them all go back home like nothing ever happened. So to me, I feel it also felt like a waste of time because you build up us going to the quantum realm, but then you don't give us a reason to say like, man, that was a crazy adventure, but what's gonna happen next? I didn't feel that after watching Quantumania. I felt like, what are we doing? Where are they going? Where's the direction? I'm trying to understand what they're doing. What was the point, the purpose in doing what they did? That's all I felt after watching that movie. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad the writer of Ant-Man and the Lost Quantumania didn't write Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Because it would have been a mess otherwise. It really would have. Modoc's redemption felt lazy. Exactly. That's another thing too. Modoc was a character that I was like, okay, how are they gonna bring him into this? Because granted, besides knowing a little bit of information based off of him with AIM, and then, you know, the animated show that they had, I was just like, okay, what is the reason for bringing him in besides just saying, hey, this is the daring guy that was in the first movie? I just felt like, to me, that just it almost felt like, they're constantly just pulling your leg the entire time with the movie and trying to find reasons to be funny, and it did not need to be funny. Like, to me, the quantum realm should not be this place where you have all this wackiness and stuff going on. The quantum realm should be a scary place, a place that not many people are wanting to go to. Not even some of the highest people in Marvel would ever want to go to the quantum realm because it's so unpredictable. The quantum realm to me just did not feel that way at all. So, MODOK should have been saved as a villain for someone else, like Deadpool or something. Yeah, I feel like that's how I feel. I feel like Deadpool would work better with someone like a MODOK, because he's more in tune with when it comes to more of those wacky, silly villains that just, you look at them and they're like, how does anyone ever take you seriously? Like, dude has just a big giant head, right? With small floating legs and arms. Come on now. There's no way. Ain't no way. I hope they save Mojo for Deadpool. I hope so too, because Mojo's one of those villains that again, he's wacky, silly, and the the fourth wall breaks with Deadpool and Mojo would be hilarious, to say the least. That would be hilarious. So I hope they do that. Or X Force with Deadpool. I know that Ryan Reynolds was talking about writing another Deadpool movie. Not sure when they're gonna do that, but I think it'd be cool, you know. So we'll see where that goes. But I think, like you said, like Mojo is good for someone like Deadpool because he can. There's a lot of fun stuff you can kind of go with comedy wise when it comes to that. That's why, like, I know a lot of people kind of put down episode 3 of X-Men 97 with Jubilee and Sunspot. I know a lot of people kind of put it down because of the Motendo stuff, but I actually like that episode because if you really like look deeper into that episode really does play a big major part into Jubilee's evolution towards the towards the rest of the season, but also like even what we seen with X-Men 97 season 2, right? From the trailers. Like you kind of see how that episode kind of in a way pioneered her into a different direction. So I get it's not the highest on people's, list for X-Men 97 episodes, but I still think it's a good episode nonetheless because of, again, the story. And then also, fun fact, the new voice actor for Jubilee actually got a chance to work with the old voice actress of Jubilee. She played future Jubilee, so I think that was really cool to have like that passing of the torch moment. It reminded me of, if you've seen Masters of the Universe, when Dolph, what's his name, Drago from Creed. You guys know who I'm talking about, because he played He-Man in the 1987 version of Masters of the Universe. So when he showed up in the movie, and talked to the new actor of He-Man, it was like that passing of the torch, the advice that he gave them, and I thought that was like a really cool moment. So I like when shows and movies get an opportunity to do a moment like that, and it doesn't feel like it's a forced thing. It feels very natural. And I think that moment in that film was very natural, and I think even with X-Men 97, how they did with Jubilee, that felt very natural too. So, yeah. I need that X Force costume for Wolverine in live action. That would be dope. Actually, I feel like Marvel vs. DC movie would be perfectly timed right before Secret Wars, but I hope they can do it right after. I definitely feel like that's definitely like a right after film, like way after. Because, right now, DC, they're trying to build up what they got going on over there. Because we still don't have a Wonder Woman yet. We still don't have a Batman yet. So I feel like as soon as we get the ball rolling on that, we get Justice League. I don't know if they'll do just main Justice League or maybe Justice League International. It feels like they're trying to do international. Um, so, we'll see where they go with that. But they waited too long. Our favorites are going to be too old. Yeah. Um, I'm sure they definitely had plans to do one many times, but just never worked out. Like I said, uh, Marvel would be doing good. DC would not be doing good. DC would be doing okay. Marvel would be kind of in a gray spot. So, um, I guess they're trying to. I guess both companies just got to get to a good playing field where they're both on the up. You know. Um, so I think that's what's gonna happen. It seems like they're gonna try to maybe not fully reboot everything with the MCU, but they are gonna try to maybe omit some things that maybe didn't work, and maybe they're gonna try to rewrite those. Um, that's my guess. But again, we'll have to see. I'm sure they definitely have plans of what they want to do, for sure. I think you're right. Secret Wars is also their reset button. Yeah, because DC they've had their reset button. With you count Creature Commandos, but then you count Superman. So they kind of have had their reset. So they're trying to build everything back up. Now Marvel, they're kind of getting to that point where okay, a lot of the legacy stuff we did before, that's kind of in our past. We want to try to move forward with the future. We want to try to get more younger. My guess is they want to try to get more younger actors into the Marvel universe, um, and build off of them for a good couple of years, and let that be the main focus. So once they get that really fully down and they feel confident enough in that, and the fans feel confident enough in it, I think it's possible that we might get a Marvel vs. DC movie. But honestly, I think it's more possible that we get a Marvel vs. DC game than a Marvel vs. DC movie. But anything is possible. I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't put it past for some kind of thing to work out with that. But I definitely see a game happening more than I do a movie at the current stage. They do need to do Eternals right and Inhumans while we're at it. Yeah, the Eternals had some interesting stuff. I just think the movie just lacked some things that I feel like could have been expounded upon more had they had used their time wisely. I feel when it comes to certain characters for sure that I feel like didn't get enough time, and there were some that I feel like got too much time. You said I watched Spider-Man '90s. Peter didn't know that Wilson Fisk is the Kingpin until Daredevil told him in season three. Yeah, were you talking about when you were a kid, or are you talking about recently, Maceo? But that is a cool episode with Daredevil and Spider Man. Then you had Daredevil and Punisher. Then you had Daredevil and Blade. The Daredevil and Blade one is one of my favorites. I think that entire season, almost every episode was kind of like a crossover. I know in the first season they had Spider Man and the X Men together. And then they had, like I said, I think the season after they had Daredevil, Punisher, Morbius, Blade, and there's another hero in that season, but it's not coming to me right now. Those teams, Eternals and Humans, have more major potential, and they were squandered. Maybe we could see Inhumans and Mutants clash somehow in the future. Any uh any post Secret Wars predictions on Nihilus? You know, my idea pitch for a second Fantastic Four movie would be the Fantastic Four getting stuck in the negative zone. That's been my ideal pitch for Fantastic Four 2 if they want to go that route. Um, because I think, like I said, they want to try. My guess is they want to go cosmic at some point, right? Because we're getting the mutant stuff, and if Blade is still happening, if Midnight Suns is still happening, you got your supernatural side, right? So now they got where's the cosmic stuff? So my guess is with the Fantastic Four, if they're still going on with Nova, if they still want to do that, my guess is that's where all that is gonna go. And so with cosmic stuff, you're gonna need a big bad to fall in line with that. And Annihilus, I think, is perfect, especially with the storyline with the negative zone, with the Fantastic Four, and then everything kind of cascading from there. I think that would be a good idea. I think post Secret Wars, I feel like I feel like the world is gonna be different as far as like people getting used to certain things that they they didn't have before. It's gonna feel new, but it's also not gonna feel new at the same time. That's kind of the feeling I get so far, but who knows? It could change. Yes. Uh oh. Sword Nova, New Guardians, Captain Marvel continuation, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Beta Real Bill, Celestials. Yeah, yeah. Can't forget Blue Marvel. My guy Blue Marvel. I've been wanting to see Blue Marvel for years. After reading up on him and how strong and powerful he that guy is, we need to see him. I would love to see him in a cosmic battle. So, I hope we get Blue Marvel at some point because he's a very interesting character, and I think there's a lot of really cool things you could do with him. 90s Kingpin is my favorite adaptation of Kingpin. It is a really good adaptation. Shout out to Roscoe Jenkins for voicing Kingpin. He did a really good job, bringing that. He brought a certain gravitas to that version of the Kingpin. I always think about the backstory of him talking about his backstory and stuff, and how his father framed him, for committing a crime and all that stuff, and how he felt resentment of all those years, and that's what led him to the life of crime that he so happened to partake in. Rest in peace, Michael Clark Duncan. Yeah, he's another good one too. He's another good one. Um, but yeah, I'm probably gonna end the stream because I did not realize that it was 2 hours. It was gonna be a 30-minute stream, originally like 30 minutes to an hour, but I've been enjoying the conversation so much that I lost track of time. And it's real. You know the conversation's good, but you've lost track, lost track of time. So yeah, uh, shout out to you, Kristen, for coming by. Crazy. Shout out to you, man. Gonna head out. Thanks so much, Jace. God bless. God bless you too, man. I appreciate you coming by. Try to stream Wednesday. We'll see. I won't make any promises, but I'm gonna try to do another stream. I might have another video idea on the way this week, so stay tuned for that. But as always, I appreciate everybody who has come through in the stream today. Um, I would read everybody's name out and shout everybody out, but it's getting kind of late and your boy's getting kind of tired, so I just want to say thank you. Bet, let's see. We're looking forward to it. Yes, sir. Um, but I appreciate everybody who did come through today to, talk, chat, discuss, all that good stuff. Had a great time. I always have a great time doing these. And for those who were watching on the replay, thank you so much for watching and checking it out and everything. It means a lot. So, yeah, as I always say, you guys have a dream, you guys have a goal, go for it, do the best that you can, be the best that you can be, and the road of life will take you where you need to go. So, yeah, as always, big love to you all, and peace out, y'all. Good night. Come on, there we go.